Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here at my next Transformers Robots in Disguise 2015 episode review. This one's going to be for Season 1 Episode 5, W.W.O.D question mark, which stands for What Would Optimus Do? Because that's the whole point of the episode, Bumblebee constantly asking that question. First of all, I wasn't really aware of this, but two episodes are going to air over in Australia and New Zealand every single week, so two reviews. Depending on how things go each week, I may do separate reviews for each episode every week, or I may just do one video for the both of them. It more or less depends on how much time I have each weekend. This time around, I wasn't aware that this was going to be a thing continuing past the premiere, but it is. So that's that. But overall, I felt that this was overall a probably stronger episode than yesterday's episode, primarily because the complete focus of yesterday's episode was just the Decepticons. There wasn't really a lot going on with the whole Autobot plot. They tried to do something to fix it. They didn't really do that much, really. This one I felt was a lot more focused on Bumblebee's overall kind of character arc for the series. That's being him becoming more confident as a leader and being his own leader of this group, that he's the leader of this show, not Optimus. Optimus is going to be there from time to time with some advice, but primarily Bumblebee's going to be the leader, and the guy who's going to have to make the decisions this time around. And that was very interesting to see over the course of the episode. It was hilarious, of course, to see Bumblebee doing the impersonation of Optimus to try and get the others to kind of go through with his plans and listen to him a bit more, because especially the first time he did it, and it was just like, it was so funny because he just does the voice. All he does is the voice, and everyone just kind of turns around like, Optimus? And it was hilarious because they were leading you to believe like it was working, but then when he finished, it was just like, that's a great Starscream impersonation, and they just turned around because it was so funny. And then over the course of the episode, you see him gradually start to do the actions that Optimus would do, bring more teamwork talk into it and stuff like that. So it was funny, but also worked for, I suppose, for his character arc a little bit. They didn't go crazy or anything like that with anything massively important, in that it's not like from this episode Bumblebee really heavily learned to be a leader on his own, in the sense of like that's now resolved. Bumblebee's just going to be a confident leader now going forward, when maybe other shows would have done that. So I'm not really sure like how massive of an impact that this kind of Bumblebee learning this is going to have over the course of the series going forward. But it was fun for what it was. You had Optimus appear towards the end of the episode to just tell Bumblebee that you are not me, and Bumblebee took that badly, and then Russell and Denny helped him to realize that it's not bad thing that you're not Optimus. It's just that you have to be yourself as a leader. What would you do? And I kind of enjoyed that. What really Bumblebee's ultimate kind of success leading at the end of this episode, the kind of his big moment stepping up, was that he used the fact that he has this good knowledge of Earth that the others don't seem to be that interested in, and he used that to his advantage, because obviously the Decepticon for this episode was this kind of buffalo guy that transforms into a garbage truck called Terrashock, and he used the fact that he's a buffalo and kind of did the whole cowboy thing because Bumblebee knows about that, and they led him to where they needed to go and get him and capture him. And that was sort of interesting. It may lead into the others maybe being more interested in Earth culture. Grimlock seemed to like the idea of being a cowboy. And it was also funny towards the end of the episode when Bumblebee did the whole yeehaw, yippee-ki-yay thing, and Sideswipe did it perfectly, and then Strongarm just like is like, oh, okay guys, yippee-ki-yo-yo, or something like that. It was funny just to see that she's still the kind of one who's kind of like, rules, I'm going to follow you because I think I heard what you said. It was just a kind of funny thing to do with her character. But other than that, the Decepticon Terrashock in the episode was it was fun, interesting, but again, like a lot of the villains except for Steeljaw, it's just kind of like very one-note characters, no real massive interest in like, oh, I hope we see this guy again or anything like that. They played with the idea of that he kind of was a bit claustrophobic. He didn't like being in closed spaces, and that he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. With thinking all the museum exhibits were actually him outside and stuff like that. And throughout this, you kind of had like everyone go off on their own, try and capture him on their own because he's so dumb. Try and like sneak up on him. None of them work, and they had to do it as a team. So that was that. And then you had this human, really, really minor side plot of the episode with Russell and Denny comparing their teamwork to the Autobots' teamwork. And it wasn't really of note at all, just that the two, again, Russell had this thing where he went off on his own, got himself into a little bit of a mess, but then the two worked together effectively to keep the Autobots cover, because they had to reveal themselves a couple of times in the episode, and then they got around it by working together with the acting. So again, fun. The show continues to be fun. The animation again was really good. Again, those vehicle modes look really cool. When you transformed the Terror Shock transformed into his garbage truck mode, that was really cool just to see how blocky that thing was. And then, like, with nearly all of these Decepticons, I'm just kind of like, I would like a decent Transformer figure of that guy just for that vehicle mode. But they don't seem like, because there's going to be so many different Decepticon villains, they don't seem to be going down that road with them. Only a couple of them seem to be getting figures, but we will see. It's actually weird in that Steeljaw arguably has one of the least interesting kind of designs of all of the Decepticons we've got so far, and he's the main villain. But other than that, there's not really a lot to say about the episode. I like that they did address the whole Bumblebee leadership issue, which is going to be his thing going forward. They continued very consistent with the whole strong arm sideswipe kind of rivalry. They're always at odds with each other. So that was fun, but again, it's just the show is just lacking that kind of continuity between episodes, that nothing is really building towards the next episode. They're not really building towards anything. It's just that every episode there is a new thing that happens, a new villain comes into town, they have to stop it, and they try and insert a character thing in there, like what Fixed did in the last episode, with Bumblebee this time round. And as I said before, I assume the first season's primarily going to be introductions. They may start to have some sort of a plot in the lead up to like the finale or something like that. And obviously it'll be fun when they start to introduce some of the new characters like Drift and Jazz, I think, are coming in. We know that from the toys. So they'll be fun when we get to see them. But overall, I think for me what the show actually really needs now is just some solid villains that are going to appear time and time again. And actually put the Autobots at risk during the fights. If there's been one major problem I would have with the series so far, it's just been that the fights have had very little intensity to them, and the Autobots have never been at risk of actually being like hurt or killed or anything like that in the fights, nor them actually doing damage to it. Like, Strong Arm in this episode, fires a couple of shots into Terror Shock, and they just don't do anything on the Decepticon. So it's like, what's the point of your weapon? Again, I assume there's some weapon power-ups coming up, just based on the toys and stuff like that. They kind of need them badly, but something's probably going to have to happen for that to happen. So I think the fights to become more intense and actually emotional, actually have some risk involved in them, they need to have a kind of main Decepticon cast, which Steeljaw I assume will be one of them. I think we have a Decepticon called like Fracture or something like that coming into play later on, who's going to be like Drift's enemy. So that'll be fun next time around. I think the series is overall helped by the fact that Australia is airing it 2 episodes every week. Because if it was only 1 a week, it'd just not enough would be happening to really like really excited about things. But still, I think it's a fun show. I'm excited every time a new episode comes out and to actually watch it. I just think it can be so much more, and I think it eventually will get to the stage where they're doing a lot more than they are right now. So I'm pretty confident that things will get better going forward, especially into season 2, where they say they're going to introduce more of the Prime cast back into play, and that should be fun. So yeah, we also got our first Megatron mentioned in this episode. It was just a joke by Fix-It, saying that the coordinates on the map that he had looked like Megatron, but didn't really mean much apart from the reference. So yeah, I'll be back next week with my reviews of the next 2 episodes. I can't really remember what they're meant to be about. Yeah, other than that, that's been the review. I definitely want to know your thoughts in the comments below. What your thoughts are on the series, because of the weird release in that, like, America, I don't think are getting the first episode until like 1 or 2 weeks time, and the UK Ireland, where I'm from, is not going to be getting it until like next week or the week following that. So it's really weird that Australia are getting it first. It means that the fandom isn't really experiencing the episodes at the same time, so I don't really have a general idea what the fandom really thinks about it. I think people are enjoying it, but I think most of them feel a little bit like me, like they want it to be a bit more than what it is. But again, need to see more opinions on the episode. So that's been the review. Thanks for watching, and bye.